So Phil, I remember, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago we did our first collab together in my writing. And it was during budget.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was really cool to have you in Mississauga Streetsville.
Yeah.
To talk to different constituents. And
Yeah.
we were able to roll out our budget back then. But that was the first time we were able to do a collab together. So it's really an honor that I get to do this with you today.
Yeah, you know what? I love working alongside you. You have a true understanding and a passion to serve people. So it's been amazing, Rechie. Yeah.
How was your day today?
A great day. Listen, the sun is shining, and I am a person that believes in hope, possibilities, and potential, which is, in my file now, what we, on our signs when we make announcements, it's people, potential, and possibilities.
Oh, I love that.
And so my background is one where I worked with high school students for 20 years. And I think that having an optimistic attitude of the future, one that brings hope and confidence, is so vitally important.
I agree.
So I think that brings out the best in people.
And I love that with your background being a lawyer and a chaplain, I just love that you bring a lot of empathy in your role and a lot of you're like the calming force, Phil.
Well, you're not seeing what's going on inside, but listen, it's I think really that the experience in both the practice of law and I think specifically working with students has really taught me a great deal. And I think it has resulted in the attitude that I do have about life and people, and that is people are our greatest strength. When I look at the young people I worked with and recognizing the talents and abilities that they have, when we do what you and I and our government is trying to do, which is level the playing field, wow, amazing things happen. Human flourishing at its finest. And I don't think there's any greater satisfaction in life than to be a part of seeing someone empowered simply by providing them with an opportunity, with confidence, with building up, not tearing down. So this has shaped, the person that I am today, together with my parents' upbringing, which is I always say, one of my greatest gifts. I've been raised by two saints, but I think a positive approach to our future brings out the best in people, and I love bringing out the best in people.
And I agree, with our government leveling the playing field for entrepreneurs specifically, I mean, you got a chance to see that firsthand, whether through FedDev funding, through our women entrepreneurship strategy, or a black entrepreneurship program. I mean, these things are certainly giving all entrepreneurs an opportunity to grow and succeed. And then now with My Main Street 2.0, it's really building on the success of the previous program. And I'd love to what you must be so proud of My Main Street 2.0.
So I think it always goes back to the people. And My Main Street 1.0 was a success because we have amazing entrepreneurs that are on the main streets that are trying to make a go of their business.
Right.
And we as a government want to ensure that they know how much we appreciate their hard work. Because Rechie, you and I know it's not us that can make that growth.
Right.
It's those entrepreneurs that are sacrificing each and every day, that they're passionate about this idea that they want to bring, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, they want to share that with communities. And it was the success of My Main Street 1.0 that led us to take this to the next level, which is My Main Street 2.0. So in this second round, we're actually increasing the amount of money. So businesses on main streets in Southern Ontario can apply for up to $20,000 non-repayable funds to help them grow their business, to help take their ideas to the next level. And it's really about increasing the foot traffic on main streets, because we want to make sure that people have spaces that they can go, enjoy each other's company, feel good, experience the amazing talents that we have of so many entrepreneurs and the products that they are offering. So very happy to launch My Main Street 2.0. The second part of it, equally important, is the not-for-profit organizations generally BIAs, but there's chambers, there's other groups, not-for-profit groups that are working very hard to ensure that that foot traffic on the main streets and the entrepreneurs are supported. So this investment is really important, and it's significant. The applications go up to 250,000 for BIAs and not-for-profits to really support what is happening on the main streets. I just came back from the Vanier. They created the hub, and seeing the transformational difference that this has made in the Vanier community, now having a space where programs are offered to young people. Dances are held, fairs are held, skateboarding. There's so many things that are bringing people in that community out. So it's seeing the transformational difference. But I go back to, it's all about the people. Yeah. We are so fortunate to be in Canada that is filled with amazing people that have ideas that we as a government want to support and bring to fruition.
What I love about all this is, I mean, we just came out of the pandemic. Small businesses have told us that they've been having challenges, especially those on my main street. They're even challenged even more so. And I know I've been hearing from my BIAs, shout out to Streetsville BIA in my writing, they've told us we need support too. So the ecosystem that supports entrepreneurs also needs help. So My Main Street 2.0 really addresses both what small businesses need, especially being an entrepreneur myself, and of course the larger ecosystem as well.
Yeah, I think it's great that you bring that experience to this file, and it's been fantastic working with you because you understand what it is like to have an idea, a passion, start a business, and how much it takes to bring that business to fruition and then to grow that business. I will say this about My Main Street. When I made the announcement, I was not the minister at the time. Helena Jasic was the minister, but I made it in my community in Hamilton, which is why I was asked to make it. And it was Westdale and the BIA in Westdale who do an amazing job. As I was making the announcement, there were actually small businesses on that main street which went through COVID and just could not make it. And we as a government, provided unprecedented supports to businesses. Wage subsidy, rent subsidy, loans, all those things to help them. But notwithstanding that, it was just too hard. And we know how difficult COVID was. So there was actually brown paper on those storefronts, the very place where I was making this announcement. And I could see with this announcement that we were making, that brown paper was going to be lifted off, and that space was now going to be occupied by businesses, by entrepreneurs that had a belief in what they had to offer. And that's exactly what this program does. So I agree with you completely. It's the businesses, but it is also, as you say, those organizations, specifically the BIAs in particular, I would give them a shout out, that work so hard to ensure that the foot traffic is there so that there are people to go in and to ensure that those businesses succeed.
Now, I just came back from Windsor, visited Southern Ontario, have been there a few times now, and I was able to see firsthand at St. Clair College some of the investments through FedDev, $7.5 million going to the Canada Can Mobility, and helping spur electrification and all of the investments there. And I mean, between Stellantis, Honda, all the investments we've made, I'm really proud of how far we've come, especially because I'm an electric vehicle owner myself, been driving one for 2.5 years, and it's been transformative for me and like my family.
So this area excites me very much. Net zero by 2050 isn't going to happen. We have to put in place the supports that are going to enable us to do that. The EV space in Southern Ontario specifically is a win-win. 95% of car manufacturing and product facilities in Canada are located in Southern Ontario. So when you look at the investments we are making in companies like Volkswagen, Stellantis, Umicore, these are opportunities not only to grow the OEMs, the big EV battery plant, producers, but also that end-to-end supply chain.
Right.
Southern Ontario is fertile ground for this. And we in Canada are taking a leadership role by making these investments because we recognize the potential for economic growth. We know that we are facing an affordability crisis, really, in Canada. And we as a government are doing everything we can to face that challenge and to ensure that Canadians are supported. But a huge part of that is ensuring that we are taking advantage of the economic opportunities and growth that are before us. We in Canada and in Southern Ontario specifically have a phenomenal opportunity, a once in a generation, and the EV space is that opportunity. And when I see these investments in Volkswagen, in Stellantis, in Umicore, and seeing the thousands of jobs that these plants are going to create, but also knowing that we have more work to do in that end-to-end supply chain. And this is where my file in ECDEV is so vitally important. We want to make sure that companies that are there now can pivot and take up the space where that supply chain, the products that are needed to feed this supply chain, we are giving people here the opportunity to do that. This potential is limitless. These investments are vitally important. And we know, what is this going to result in? It's going to result in good paying jobs and products. We talk about, supply chains and the issues we faced during COVID. As an example of where supply chains, we see the problems when we are trying to access products around the world. Let's bring those products right next door. And to add to that, let's build main streets where people are going to want to live and work.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what our government is doing. It's all areas. It's growth that is going to affect all areas, whether it's the large companies, the smaller supply chains, and then creating spaces and small entrepreneurs, businesses, and creating spaces where people want to live, work, and play.
So I'm a U-Windsor grad. And I remember at the time being in Windsor grad, all my classmates in school, they told me about their families and the impact of the car industry just in Windsor alone. And meeting with the Windsor Chamber earlier, even despite the fact that small businesses, the optimism that they're feeling right now is down overall, in Windsor, however, they have an uptick in optimism. And I truly believe it's connected to the fact that we've made these investments in Southern Ontario. It's the fact that we've supported the larger ecosystem. So I was really happy to hear the optimism there in Windsor and Essex County. And I'm really, really proud of that. And then I also just got back from Northern Ontario, and connected to our electric vehicle investments is really around our critical minerals as well in Northern Ontario. And so I'm really proud again that end-to-end, what you said earlier, is we're not just looking about an electric vehicle, it's all the aspects that roll out with that. And then think about the small businesses that will come in to support the larger investments of the ecosystem as a whole, that will then also help build jobs and build the economy here in Canada.
Absolutely. As one of our colleagues have said, we have the assets above the ground, which is the people, and below the ground, which is the critical minerals. So we are so rightly positioned, but the opportunity is there. The question is, are we going to seize that opportunity? And we are a government that says, absolutely yes. We are going to seize the opportunity because we believe in the strength of Canadian people. Yep. We know Canada's not broken. Canada is filled with opportunities, and we are making those investments and providing the supports to enable people to reach their full potential. That is what is going to lead to strong economic growth. If we don't seize this opportunity, I actually say shame on us. We need to ensure that we are taking advantage of this opportunity that is out there, the strong people that we have, entrepreneurs that we know can deliver fantastic products that can occupy this space and that can support these significant investments by providing that end-to-end supply chain, providing the widget or whatever the product that is needed, and then creating those good paying jobs, which are supported by colleges and universities, which we are making significant investments in to ensure that the skills training is there. and St. Clair, Fanshawe, Mohawk. These are all universities that the government is supporting in order to ensure that the training is there, because we have to see the full picture here and ensure that we are preparing ourselves for success and getting ready that the investments that we are going to make are going to be brought to the next level, because we've paved the way across the board. We are creating the communities that are strong communities. We are creating the housing that people are going to need to occupy, that we are providing SMEs the opportunity to pivot so that they can occupy the spaces that these major battery companies, for example, need, and that we are encouraging that end-to-end supply chain right here.
I love it, and I love your passion. And I mean, small businesses, they've had such a difficult time, but what I love about entrepreneurs is their resilience. And you and I have both seen it firsthand, that despite the challenges that they face, they continue to step up, they continue to help their communities, they continue to help their families, and that resiliency is what motivates me in the role that I have. And those entrepreneurs keep me motivated in what I'm doing, because we're always looking for opportunities as a government to find out ways we can support them. And I mean, we've got our budget coming up, which is very exciting. So what excites you the most about the upcoming budget?
Okay, first, before I talk about the budget, I just really appreciate your passion on entrepreneurship. And you bring that to the cabinet table, to caucus. And I think it is important that we continuously be reminded of that. You and I now occupy ministries where we get to see it each and every day. I get to visit entrepreneurs who have started working extremely hard. I was at one company, Cocoa Bakery, and I was just privileged to be able to hear how that company started. And it was a woman that talked about making the baked goods, packaging them herself, running to the truck. There was no loading dock. She had to step up. There was a relay line. Now to see the cake pops that they manufacture and the success of that business, but it wasn't without hard work and struggle.
Yep.
It wasn't without having to give themselves a pep talk every day to say, this is about this dream that I know that I can actualize if I stay on this path. So I totally agree with you and your admiration that you have for entrepreneurs, and we want to encourage them each and every day, which is why FedDev, for example, is there to make those significant investments to bring them to the next level. So I encourage entrepreneurs that are working, that want to grow, to take a look at the opportunity that the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario offers in order to support them as they grow. With the budget, I think economic growth is going to be one area that we will absolutely focus on, because we recognize that Canada has amazing people with great ideas, and we want to help them bring those ideas to market, because what does that mean? It means good jobs.
Exactly.
And it means economic growth. It means increasing our GDP at the end of the day. It's one of the greatest combats to affordability. Have Canadians work to create those amazing paying jobs. That is such a strong way to combat the affordability challenges, along with all the other things that our government is doing. So in the budget, I know that housing is something that has been a top priority. We are of a government that entered into this space by investing now over $90 billion in that space, ensuring that particularly young people can have the dream of actually being in a home. Affording a home is one that we are going to make real for millennials and Gen Zs in particular. So I look forward to that. And I think the other area is the affordability piece. We know that people are still struggling, but we're going to continue to make the investments to bring Canadians along, because we know at the end of the day, there's no better investment than investing in Canadians.
And that is exactly what we do. Our government invests in Canadians, invests in businesses, and we are not a government that believes in cuts. We believe as we invest in Canadians and in small businesses, that the investment ultimately is a return in believing in them and uplifting them in what they're doing. I love the story you told earlier as a former baker. While she has cake pops, I started my entrepreneurial venture baking my daughter's first birthday cake. And imagine, Phil, like it started with one 2-tier pink fondant cake, eventually making its way to like birthday cakes, wedding, dessert tables, and eventually having products in 2 grocery chains in Mississauga. So I know the hustle of being out there in summer festivals, selling product and what it's like, and it's truly a grind. But again, the reward comes believing in yourself, following your passion, following your dreams, and then ultimately when you see your baby grow into something more, that's the most rewarding part. And our government is a part of that. And I think about the supports we provide, and I think about, wow, how much better will entrepreneurs be with the supports that we are providing them?
You tell me that story, Rechie, I get goosebumps. But you know what? There's thousands like you out there.
Yeah.
And that story is absolutely amazing. And I'm sure that as you were working, there were challenges. There were times that it was difficult, but you persevered, and look what you accomplished. You know, I said earlier, I had the privilege of working with young people for 20 years. And when I see their potential, it makes me filled with hope and confidence, because I know that they have such amazing gifts, and we as a government recognize that. We're going to continue, as you said, to make those investments, because we know that when we do that, there's not a better investment that we can make. And I look forward to continuing to work with you to enable people like you and like the thousands of students that I met through the years. And I would include those that have retired too. Our seniors, they have the opportunity to you know, put their ideas into action, and maybe even mentor some of our younger folks. But we're going to continue to invest in people. And we want everyone to feel that we have a Canada with amazing potential that has done great things, that is going to continue to do great things. We're not broken, folks. We have so much to offer. And what a shame it would be to not recognize that and build on it.
And the last 2 things I'll mention with regards to investing in young people, through the Minister of Small Business portfolio, we've been able to invest in Futurepreneur. Imagine those aged 18 to 39, when their ideas are budding, by supporting them. It's transformative, the investments we've made. And most recently made an investment of $2.5 million up in the East Coast with regards to Indigenous entrepreneurs by partnering with NACA to empower women and young entrepreneurs succeed. And it's very inspiring. These are investments that are going to be breaking barriers for so many out there. Happy belated International Women's Day, and of course, International Women's Month, in my opinion. But you know, it's challenging being a woman in politics. I mean, this is also my first foray, but Phil, you've got lots of experience. Would like to hear, you know, what that experience has been like for you as a woman in politics.
Well, let me begin by saying that it's vitally important that we encourage women to occupy this space. I think that our Prime Minister's commitment to a gender-balanced cabinet has been a game changer. And although I wasn't at the table when it wasn't gender-balanced, being at the table with it being gender-balanced, I will say to you that it is a much more wholesome, balanced conversation. And many of the investments that our government has made, I think, are driven because we've had a gender-balanced cabinet. That's not to say that the men at the table don't support, but sometimes there needs to be leadership with respect to where the investments need to be made and where our focus needs to be. So when you look at, for example, our commitment to early learning and childcare, this is a game changer. And we know, you in particular, Rechie, of getting women in the workforce. So this is one example of the importance of having women in politics. And look at what our government has achieved. You know, you talk about childcare, early learning and childcare, affordable, $10 a day. This is amazing. Increasing the Canada Child Benefit. ensuring women are paid equally for work of equal value. We got that across the finish line. These are some examples of the amazing things that happen when you have women entering the space of politics. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the importance of that. I wouldn't be honest if I wouldn't say it's not a challenge. It is a challenge. You know now, our houses are monitored with cameras. We walk around with panic buttons. It's challenging to be in politics now. And women often occupy or wear various hats, you know, raising families, taking care of their children, doing the work at home to make sure that, you know, the house is taken care of, whether that's providing the meals, packing the lunches, whatever the case. So our roles, we wear many hats. But what keeps me going is recognizing the difference when women put up their hand, take their seat, and have their voices heard.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, our government has really taken this all-of-government approach with regards to supporting women, and especially women entrepreneurs. I mean, it was our government that put in place in 2018 the first ever women entrepreneurship strategy, which is huge, $7 billion of an investment, right? And it's gone such a long way, and I've been able to see it firsthand as well as with you. But you're right, it's challenging. I mean, I have 2 babies. They're not babies anymore, but they certainly still need me. And between juggling, taking care of a family, and then juggling like personal life, and then of course, being a minister and a member of parliament, your constituents need you. And of course, with the portfolio, your portfolio needs you as well. So really, time management is really key, I feel, in this role. And then, of course, knowing what your priorities are is also very vital.
Yeah. The time management piece is critical. I mean, in life as women, we know, I think of the time where I was working full-time, raising 2 kids and doing a master's program. And by the way, I was able to do that because I have a partner who is so supportive that he was with me every step of the way. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, you know, you have to balance, and you know you could even do better. I know if I spent a few more hours on that paper that I'd probably get an A+, but maybe an A has to be good enough, right? So that balance part is so key, and I think we have to give ourselves permission at times to know that we can't always reach perfection, but it's in the balance where the success comes. The other thing I would say is I think it's really important, and here I want to talk about the Prime Minister. You know, he not only made the commitment to the gender balance cabinet, but his actions with respect to supporting women every step of the way have been there. I'll share something very personal with me. And that was when I asked that I needed more time at home because I needed to be with my husband a little bit more. He didn't just say to me, okay, Phil, I get it, you know, hope he keeps well, take care. He said to me, I understand, and I know how important your family is to you. So what about if we give you a portfolio that keeps you closer to home?
Wow.
That's true support.
It is.
That's a true recognition of not only saying that you want a gender balanced cabinet, but recognizing all that is involved, for example, with a woman in politics. And I'm grateful to this day for that, what I would call an accommodation, but maybe that's even the wrong word, right? We can't look at it that way. But we need leadership that is demonstrating that it's not just the perception, it's the support behind the scenes that we also need. And I think our Prime Minister has been brilliant in this regard.
The only thing I'll add to that is the fact that it's not just a gender parity cabinet, it's also a very significantly diverse cabinet as well. And I mean, it was his deliberate decision to have the first Filipino woman enter cabinet, which is pretty awesome. Shout out, Prime Minister. Like the final shout out is obviously we couldn't be here without our spouses, and of course the tribe behind us, which is in my case my parents and my in-laws, who hold down the fort, together to help ensure that we're able to be here and be able to represent our constituents and the voices of Canada.
I couldn't agree more. Families are so very important, and I would not be here if it was not for my husband. So the decision for me and what I was to do was perhaps challenging, but easy because of that. And I want to say my parents, well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my parents in more ways than one. My mother was the one that encouraged me to go into politics. She was involved in politics all her life. She had 4 children, her and my father, and they raised us together, and I was the only one that bit in the political realm. But if it wasn't for their, the upbringing that I had, I wouldn't be here. But the family in totality, the family has to be on board. Shout out to my entire family, my children, my husband, because it is a family commitment.
It is.
If you really do this where you want to be all in.
Yeah.
And so we are grateful to our families. And I'm so happy that you acknowledge that.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Rechie.